We don't give a could care less. And that's why we should be exterminated. That's why we should be off the planet, because we don't that the fact that we're doing damage to the very thing that gives us life. We have no sense of it and don't want to know, which means you're going to be exterminated. Pray. Pray till your face falls off. Do you not think the Jews who at Auschwitz didn't pray? Do you think the Jews that at Birkenau didn't pray and pray and pray? Did their God come and save? No, their God. And these are people, supposedly the original people.
That video is an excerpt of just part of one of the apparently multiple rants that have been uploaded to YouTube by Frank James, who is considered the lead, the only suspect in the attack on the New York subway this week. He had been considered a person of interest, upgraded to suspect earlier this morning. And if you missed the news as it developed earlier this week, a gunman in a subway alleged now to potentially have been Frank James wore a gas mask and began shooting, detonating smoke grenades. And we have even more details now with the hindsight of one day of investigation. But New York City Mayor Eric Adams says that the investigation right now, the focus is entirely on Frank James. There's a lot more of his rants online. We obviously bleeped the portions we felt necessary, and I don't feel the need to platform too much more of that, but I want you to know that this is who is currently being investigated. And we're gonna continue to give you details, despite the fact that apparently over the last day, Fox anchors are saying that the media is gonna bury this story now that the person of interest is black. That is a bizarre theory. It says a lot more about those hosts like Tucker Carlson than it does about the media, because I'm looking around the news today and it doesn't appear that it's been buried, certainly not on this channel and not all over the place. So we're gonna move on. Their interest apparently is focused entirely on the fact that the person of interest is black, not the fact that he's still on the run, that he did an attack, apparently wants to kill as many people as possible. That's what's being alleged, and might well conduct another attack at any point. Weird to not focus on that part of it, but anyway, the NYPD has put out some information, some photos to help people potentially identify Frank Robert James. They gave information about the identity and the phone number for Crime Stoppers. Now, a little bit more information of what's been found in the last day. Chief James Essig told reporters that officers recovered a cache of weapons at the scene. This is guns, ammunition, a hatchet, and gasoline. Keys to a U-Haul van as well, which apparently is how they identified him. So again, this is an allegation. This is the prime suspect. That does not mean that it was definitely him. That is just what they think at this point is the case. Yaz, what do you think about this?
There's a lot going on here. First of all, whenever this happened, one of the first responses from the New York City government, specifically the mayor, was that they were gonna have even more cops available around the subway stations, which was unfortunately pretty predictable, I thought. Whether or not it should have had that response is up for debate, I guess, but it was pretty predictable. And then his manifesto, that video, it's a little confusing, but it's also, he does talk about his mental health. I don't know if it was in that clip or in other clips, but it is, I think it's a really interesting commentary on the fact that so many people have been living with so little hope for so long. Even if you look back just to 2020, or you can go back to 2016, or even further back if you want, this generation of people, and by generation, I mean like everybody living on the planet right now, is dealing with some astronomical issues, and there's little hope that any of it will actually get addressed. And every time you try to focus on one, you realize that you have to keep going further and further up, and then you just get hit by corruption. So I don't want to say that you can't blame people for taking action or for acting out, but at the same time, you kind of have to expect that there is a mental health crisis in this country, and that is going to have some consequences, and we can't just keep brushing it under the rug.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna say, maybe I only speak for myself. We are all responsible for the things that we actually do. We're,
right,
at the mercy of societal conditions, the people around us, the lack of support structures, the lack of an emphasis on, let alone funding for, thank you, mental health care and all of that. at the end of the day, we're still responsible for what we do.
Right, yeah, of course.
And if it turns out that it was him, one would hope that, one would wish that someone might have seen this stuff earlier and potentially try to get him help. Maybe they did. We don't know. There is so much that we don't know about this, including whether it was actually the person that we believe it was. But I agree, like we are, one of the reasons that we as progressives focus so much on changing some of the foundational structures of our government, of our society, of our economy, is to fight back against that hopelessness, that feeling that the traditional routes to economic stability, to the sort of life that you are told as a kid you'll someday have been so cut off. They are so ephemeral now, and we don't want that to be. We don't want people to feel desperate, to feel like the government has no interest in them, let alone representing them. They've long since dispensed with those thoughts. But
well, John, what was he saying about thoughts and prayers, or to pray and see what was happening? I couldn't quite catch what he was saying, but it seemed like he was making a reference to anytime something is actually happening, you just get told thoughts and prayers, and that's kind of it. That's all the response that you get from your elected officials. So is that what he was talking about? Yeah,
I don't know. Look, we're trying to understand someone who obviously has some major issues. I don't know. Maybe it's a reference to that, to the specific invocation of thoughts and prayers we often hear. Maybe it's just it's referring to what we were talking about people feeling hopeless in the face of so many issues. I do know this. Other desperate people, other people who've also been left behind economically in so many different ways, killing them, not the solution, not on the same continent, the same planet, in the same solar system as a solution to any of those problems. Now, I want to give you just a couple more key updates, including that Mayor of New York said just earlier this morning that, quote, there is no evidence that indicates at this time that there was an accomplice, and that, quote, it appears that the shooting suspect was operating alone. That is potentially good news, and because they haven't found them, we want them to be as few as possible. And as of right now, hospitals have treated at least 29 people for injuries, 10 of them by gunfire. We talked about that on the show yesterday. Others for a smoke inhalation. Remember, some of these are people who were in subway cars, in subway stations. It's not a big place, obviously. Others were injured in the rush to get out of the station. And right now, 5 of the victims remain in critical but stable condition. We talked about that yesterday. All are expected to recover. None are facing what is seen at this point as life-threatening injuries at this point. Yeah, so some good news in a difficult situation that has left a lot of people feeling at risk. And until they find this individual, there is going to be a great deal of fear. And I don't begrudge people that.
Yeah, and this one especially is hard because I was just there. I was just there in Brooklyn, and I know a lot of people who live over there, and it is hard to see whenever anything like this happens. It's hard regardless of where it happens. But especially with Fox, they're in New York. Like, this guy is on the loose, and they're in New York, and they're trying to formulate some narrative. To be fair, they're not riding the subway in Brooklyn, but it just speaks to how disconnected all these people are from what's actually happening in their own city, in their own backyard. They don't care.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's all about scoring points. Again, as we've pointed out a million times, as Media Matters has been trying to educate people for more than a decade, Fox News has news in the title, and that's the only place news shows up.
I've just stopped calling them Fox News. I just call them Fox from now on.
It's Fox, and that as someone who used to watch Married with Children on Fox back in the late 80s, I don't necessarily like to smear regular Fox, but no, it is not about news. It is not about making sure that people know what is going on. It is about producing political outcomes by producing crazy people. So in any event, that's the latest. We're going to continue to follow this story against the predictions of Tucker Carlson. I'm sure he'll be going on air tonight to say, well, turns out I was wrong. I'll be waiting for that. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.